Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County branch of the American Association of University Women, one of the civic partners for this show. Today we have Valerie Dana, a counselor and advocate, and Caitlin Hill, the legal advocate with the St. Lawrence County Renewal House for Victims of Family Violence in the studio. So, welcome back, Caitlin and Val.
Yeah, thanks
it's wonderful to have you here. We're at the beginning of October, which is always Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we know that you do special programming around this event, but you do programming and you're busy every day of the year because the work you do is important, and unfortunately there's a lot of need for it. Several things have actually changed since last we met this time last year. Domestic violence has been in the news a lot, particularly because of the situation with the National Football League and the attention that's been focused on their response or lack of response to some high-profile incidents that involved current and former members of that league, and other professional athletes as well have also been in the news for similar reason. We've also seen a big change in the attitude about sexual assault on college campuses in the last year as a result of incidents that have gone on around the nation, and it actually looks like the conversation is starting to happen everywhere and that it's much more open, and we've seen many, many positive signs that the culture of silence around that difficult issue has seems to be over, which is really a very long overdue cultural shift. We just celebrated the 20th anniversary of the Violence Against Women Act, and that allocated funds to investigate crimes against women, to create shelters for battered women and provide legal aid and help protected victims who've been evicted from their homes because of domestic violence. And those are all issues that you deal with at Renewal House. But there's still, unfortunately, a lot of misinformation and confusion about what domestic violence is and how to identify it. I am sure you get calls all the time from somebody who says, I'm not sure if I should be calling you. My partner isn't physical with me, so I'm not sure if this is domestic violence. Mm-hmm. So Val, tell us how you respond to a caller who is saying something like that. How do you educate them, and how do you let them understand what's happening and what you can do for them?
Mm-hmm. Well, if they are calling us, we definitely take the time to get to know their situation. If they say that things aren't physical, we'll still ask them kind of what's been going on, maybe things that their partner does do on a regular basis, and then explain that domestic violence is not just encompassed by physical abuse, but it also takes on emotional abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse, and psychological, and verbal. So we have to make sure, that they understand that, and then once we get to know their situation and they start talking about him calling her names, isolating her, controlling all the money, wanting to know where she is, and all those things, then we explain that indeed is a domestic violence situation, and it doesn't have to be physical or get to that level for them to receive services with us.
Okay, and there's also electronic abuse, isn't there?
Actually, there's a power and control wheel, and now there's, with technology being the way it is and evolving every day, I think, there's also a power and control wheel and a new wedge being added to that is technologically based.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely one of the means that people are using to control and create violence to victims.
So that's good to know that you're actually able to understand how these things evolve through time and add these components, because it must really help a lot for somebody who's never thought about that before, that, oh my gosh, that is happening to me, and I would never have considered that part of a domestic violence situation. So that's great.
The means to control somebody are changing. There's still the power and control involved, but now we're adding Facebook, where before maybe somebody was keeping tabs on somebody by following them or calling them on the phone. Where are you? What are you doing? Now it's, I'm going to see by your Facebook where you are and what you're doing. Facebook stalking is kind of a new term now.
Or the GPS locator on people's phones. I mean, there's some people out there that are tech savvy and totally understand how to turn the locator on, or some people, maybe your phone comes that way and you don't understand that it isn't on. Sometimes I didn't even know how to find it until somebody talked to me about it. But those are things that, we help educate people. Are you with someone who's, really understands technology or maybe works with it? And then, okay, if you are, we're going to take these precautions with you.
Okay, so that's an interesting way that this whole situation has really evolved in just the last few months or years.
Yes.
I suspect every time a new phone system comes out, you kind of have to delve into the electronics behind it to find out how it could be misused in a situation like this. Caitlin, let's talk a little bit about some of the red flags of domestic violence. What should people watch for in their own relationships or in the relationships of people around them?
And by domestic violence, I just want to say we mean dating violence also. A lot of people have this misconception that it's a married man and woman or taking place in a marriage, but it's dating violence. This is happening to, kids as young as 12 and 13 are dating now. This is happening in our high schools, in our middle schools with younger generations, so we need to get everybody involved. Some things that you can look out for, jealousy. A lot of people think it's attractive when the other person's jealous. Oh, he's really jealous of this guy that kind of likes me. Well, that could be cause for concern, so you need to take a look at that and see, what is he doing? Is he acting out on those jealousies? And is he making you feel bad because some other guy may like you? Is he telling you you can't go to a football game because this other guy's going to be there? He's afraid that the other guys are going to look at you. That is a clue that you might be in a domestic violence relationship. Constant communication. If he needs to know where you are, what you're doing. Keep in mind that these people aren't going to be doing this necessarily in a mean way. It might not be, where are you? I need to know where you are. It might not be yelling, but it might be, well, I just really want to know. I just care about you so much.
It's very intrusive.
Yeah, I mean, abusers are chameleons. They can change, they'll change their tone, they'll change their attitude based on how they think that they can best get what they want, which is to know where you are. Are they going to be able to play on your sympathies or yell at you? Which way are they going to be able to know where you are? If he's trying to keep tabs on you, like I said, who you're with, where you're going. If he doesn't take responsibility for his actions or his role, if you have a fight and then when you talk about it later, he's not stepping up and saying, well, you're right, I shouldn't have done this. If all the blame is on you and, well, I acted this way because of you, because of your actions, that's a clue that could be a red flag. Pressures you to do things that you don't want to do. If he's pressuring you to skip class even for college students or high school students, skip class or don't go to work, don't go to your work-study job, even older and adults. I've heard many victims say, oh, he wanted me to quit my job and just me to stay home and, take care of everything. Well, that's a way to control you because now you're at home, you don't have any money to go anywhere, you don't have any coworkers you can talk to, you might not have any transportation, and he knows exactly where you are at all times.
So it's that a person becomes very isolated in a situation like that, and they feel like they are cut off from
Absolutely.
the systems of support that they would have had if they were out and engaged.
And they do that so that if a person decides to want to leave or get out, that they don't have anybody to turn to now because he's kind of isolated her or him so much. They've been isolated so much that now they don't really know where to turn. And they're stuck. They feel stuck.
And it's important to know that this isn't just going to happen overnight. This doesn't, you don't have a healthy relationship one day and then all of a sudden you wake up the next day and it's unhealthy. These are signs that have been there all along, that are underlying. And he's also going to be careful, or she, because we know that women can be abusive too, and we do see male clients. But we know that abuser is going to do these subtle clues at first. He doesn't want people to catch on to what he's doing. He wants
Normal becomes what you're used to, and what you're used to changes when you're in that kind of a relationship.
Your whole reality kind of shifts, and before you know it, you don't even believe where it is at the end. We talk a lot too about gut feeling. If you have a feeling in your gut with any of these red flags in the beginning that it just didn't quite seem right, but we make sense of it in our mind because that's just how we are as humans. We make sense of the behaviors, and we explain, it was just a hard day at work, maybe. He really maybe is just really tired. He was drinking, whatever it is, and we kind of push that aside. But really, if it's that gut feeling is there, we really need to trust that.
Right.
And don't just play it off, because sometimes, in the end, we'll say, when we talk to people, they'll say, I did see these things in the beginning, but
I didn't recognize them for what they were. One of the things that I was reading just a little while ago is that domestic violence is at least as prevalent in same-sex relationships as it is in heterosex relationships and couples like that, so that it's not just a man-woman kind of thing or a boy-girl kind of thing. It can also be other kinds of relationships. Do you see some of that? Do you get calls like that at Renewal House?
Absolutely. Nobody is discriminated against as victims or, same thing with abusers. So we definitely see all those dynamics in the relationships.
Tell us a little bit, Val, about what the services Renewal House has to offer for people who find themselves in a situation where they need some help.
Sure. We offer counseling, first and foremost, just peer-to-peer, one-on-one counseling, just for victims who would like to talk about things, vent, figure out maybe what their options are, really pinpoint, those types of abuse like we talked about. If they're not quite sure, understanding where those abusive behaviors are happening, so that in the future, those are things they'll be armed with, the knowledge they'll be armed with later. So it's kind of talking one-on-one about whatever it is that they would like to talk about through counseling. We also offer advocacy to court accompaniment for any kind of court appointments that come up, whether it be people seeking custody, orders of protection, and Caitlin actually accompanies to a lot of that. She's a legal advocate, but anybody could. We also offer a women's group for domestic violence victims, and we have a lady named Kelly who facilitates that at the office, and a children's group to go along with that if the women have children. There's also safe housing for victims of domestic violence if that's something where they need to get away for temporary shelter. We, have face-to-face about the options and what that entails and what that means and what it kind of looks like. And then we also offer our SANE exam for sexual assault victims with their sexual assault nurse examiners who are trained to better go through the forensic rape exam, so it's a little bit easier for victims.
They've got the psychological training
Yes.
as well as the forensic
Absolutely.
side
So
of
it's
it,
a
right?
little easier when someone comes in who's much more comfortable with that, when it's already something so intimate and they already feel, very violated. So it goes a little smoother. So we have that in place as well. And then we're also a referral agency. If people call us and we can't quite help them, or it's not quite something that we necessarily are able to help them with, we will look in our source and refer to who else could help them, as well as doing education, which is what we're here doing today.
Right. Caitlin, let's talk a little bit about your job in terms of as a legal advocate. Now, do you help clients go through the court system, but do you also work with police agencies and things like that as well? How do you interface with local police?
Yeah. The main part of my duties is accompanying women or our clients to family court. There's a huge problem with reporting. As you may know, victims don't want to report, and we're a victim-centered agency, so if they don't choose to report, then I will help them through whatever process they need help with. But oftentimes I do deal with police officers when a victim does want to report. We can make the call, we can call the police departments ourselves to see how can we help this woman report, or sometimes the police departments call us and say, we have a woman here who's reporting, can you come in? And we have staff available 24/7 to do something like that. Also just the follow through, I was with this woman in family court and she received an order of protection, so now I'm going to call the sheriff's department and see if that's getting served, what the time frame of that is maybe, or check into things like that. Working with the district attorney's office too. The victims that do decide they want to press charges and do go through the grand jury process and meeting with the district attorneys and going through, even the trial or even the local courts. If it's a lower level offense that's through a local court, I can accompany the victims to that court also. So.
When you're interfacing with the police like that, particularly for orders of protection, that's quite a complicated process, isn't it? Both from the legal point of view and from the safety of the client point of view, because there are people who simply don't pay attention to what the court order says. So someone may sometimes be in the situation of having to call multiple times to the police and say, this has been violated. What can you do for me?
Absolutely.
So that's going to be a pretty difficult situation, both for the person who's trying to report and for the police getting multiple calls from the same person, and that the person who has the order of protection is simply not going to pay attention.
And we also talk to the victims who go through that route of getting an order of protection about the safety concerns from when you petition to when it's served and actually seen in court, that little lapse of time that could be there, because they have 10 days, right, Kate? 10 days to see it in court from the date you petitioned. So it's not in place yet the abuser may be served the paperwork to appear in court. So we talk about safety, and we talk about safety planning and what to do, and make sure they know, you can always call us. We can talk about safe housing. So they're aware of all the options that come with that, because it is a dangerous time, absolutely.
Right.
And there's always a risk with orders of protections, because you are trying to tell this person that has little regard for the laws or for authority to stay away from this person. So it's very likely that he will violate that order. And it happens in the past, and it will continue to happen. And that's why I think that our laws are even shifting in New York State to place greater onus on him for when you do violate. All right, well, this is your second offense or your third offense. So now you're going to be punished greater than you would be, because you clearly have little respect for authority and are not paying attention to this, so we're going to punish you more.
Right, and for someone who's already in a control mode, to lose that control is threatening to them as well.
And it definitely angers them. You see that a lot.
Caitlin, I know both of you do a lot of education out in the community, both going to schools and to colleges. And we've seen since the start of the college academic year this year, there's already been some incidents in local colleges of sexual assault and violent behavior. And yet we've also seen some wonderfully positive responses by the students around those initiatives. There's the brand new campaign that the White House has started called It's On Us, which is looking to create that cultural shift. So what are the two of you seeing that may be a little different this year in terms of what's happening at the collegiate level?
I'm definitely seeing much more interest and much more involvement just in the past year that I've been at Renewal House. We've attended a lot of events on campus so far, and in October we're going to attend many more because of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. But it seems even men are getting involved, which I think is great. We're seeing men as allies now, and the conversation is shifting to we want to work together with them. We as women are not attacking men. We're not saying that you are the reason why this is happening to us. But hey, step up, and men are doing that. Just last night, I was here at Clarkson for a Break the Chain event put on by some of the groups on here. There was about 80 people in attendance. It was great. Assemblywoman Addie Russell was here speaking with everybody. I was approached by so many fraternities wanting to get involved, wanting to come to Renewal House and do volunteer work for us and get involved. I had a great conversation with some of the members of the ROTC talking about what they're doing on campus and how these men, they're taking responsibility of this, and they're saying it's our duty to protect our campus and keep our friends safe, our female friends, our sisters, our whatever, our mothers, our daughters.
There's a sense of community that maybe
that's
there
a great
wasn't
shift.
before.
It's an important shift, because the No More campaign too has, I think it started last year, really pushing for everybody to start getting involved, make it your business.